Hello and welcome to Tech with Heart. I am your host, Michelle Calloway. Tech with Heart is all about empowering entrepreneurs to embrace technology so they can stay competitive and relevant in a rapidly changing digital environment. And today's topic is retargeting, how to create that tractor beam that pulls in all of this lead generation for your business. And with us today, we have a very special guest. His name is Chris Ormiston. And he is such a genius that Google reached out to him at the very beginning of when they were creating their Google search engine to have him help them create their algorithm. Yes, he's really that brilliant. He is actually sought after from multiple different lead politicians and presidents of companies, presidents of organizations. He's even worked with some major brands like Lexus or the Bloomin' brands like Outback Steakhouse. I'm sure you've probably heard of these names. Well, anyway, today he's going to talk to us about retargeting. And so I cannot thank you enough. Welcome to the stage, Chris.
Thank you, Michelle. It's great to be with you. And it's great to be here to support you with your Tech with Heart. It's such a great program and foundation that you have going on.
Well, thank you so much for acknowledging the foundation. Tech with Heart is a nonprofit organization, very passionate about just serving entrepreneurs so that they can reach that successful point in their business sooner, by having others breathe life into them, giving them insights and sharing what works and what doesn't work, and maybe even avoiding some of those big roadmap or those bumps in the roadmap so that they can definitely feel that they don't have to do this alone. They're definitely growing alongside one another in this Tech with Heart network. And, this retargeting topic is not something that many small business owners are even maybe aware of. They're definitely not utilizing. And it's one of those concepts that's like, hey, let's figure out how to work smarter and not harder and for very affordably. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on this topic of retargeting. And Chris, since you are quite the tech head, Tech with Heart really takes pride in simplifying technology down. So let's try and keep these concepts at a fourth grader level so that everybody, no matter who's tuning in, can indeed walk away feeling value from the information that we're sharing. So the first question is, can you explain to us what is retargeting?
So retargeting is a process where a website owner will put something that's called a pixel, or basically just like a little snippet of code on their website. And what that does is everyone who goes to that website, it tags that person and it makes it so that you can show ads to them as they move around the internet. And it's one of the I would say, least used and most powerful technologies that are out there. And it's incredible because it's very inexpensive. It's very easy to set up. It's very easy to do. But a lot of companies don't take advantage of this like earth-shattering technology. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along, but it's really a cool process.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question is how should businesses use retargeting? But you kind of alluded to that when you answered what is retargeting. But most businesses aren't aware of how they can use this concept to attract potential clients to their website. Do you want to expand a little bit more on that about why businesses should use it as a marketing strategy?
So the way that a lot of companies work is that they spend money on AdWords, on Facebook marketing, in direct mail campaigns to bring people who might be interested to their websites or landing pages or funnels so that they can potentially sell them their product. And so there's a lot of money that's spent there. And so in fact, one thing that's interesting is that 92% of the people who they bring to the website who are interested, they're not ready to buy yet. Now they're interested, but they're not quite ready to buy, depending on like where their business is, where they are. It may be something as simple as like they have to get dinner ready because the kids are getting home from school. I mean, very just like life things. They're not ready to purchase at that time. And so retargeting is a super way to stay in front of them after they have left your website, to remind them to come back and take an action again. So for instance, like we spend, let's say we spend $500 a week on AdWords. So these are people who are interested. 92% of those are not going to buy. And so we just dumped all that money. What would it mean if you were able to spend an extra $1 for each person, or maybe even 50 cents? I think a dollar is like really exaggerating on how much it costs to bring them back again so that they would actually buy when they were interested in the first place.
Yeah, they're definitely super smart. It's a great way to go when you want to attract clients to come back to you. So maybe you can share with the audience, what do retargeting ads look like so that we can identify when it's happening to us, that we're being retargeted?
That's a great question. And I think we've all seen them and experienced them, even though we might not understand exactly what this title is and how it works. But have you ever been to like Amazon or eBay or Zappos or any of these other big brand companies? And then later that day or the next day, all of a sudden you're barraged with that pair of, shoes you're looking at, or, the coat you were looking at, or whatever it was that you're looking at to potentially purchase, but didn't. I mean, we've all experienced that, and those ads show up all over the place. That is retargeting, and that is what you can do for your company to be able to stay in front of them in that same capacity where your ads are showing up in front of them wherever they move across the internet on other websites.
Thank you so much for that explanation, because it's happening to us all the time. We just may not have known that that's what it's called when these ads seem to follow us around. So thank you for that. So when we create a retargeting campaign as a business, what are things that we should look at? What should we be considering?
So basically, there's different ways, and maybe I can use a college as an example. So for instance, a college has different sections of their website. They have, the place for engineering, they have the place for the arts, they have the place for music, they have a place for medical school, like all the different schools that they have in their college, right? So retargeting can work the same way on your website. And so basically all the different areas that you have in your website, you can section off so that, say, for instance, in this college, everyone who goes to the engineering website, you can show engineering ads to the people who went to that area of your website. The same thing, like if you're a lawyer, like somebody who went into bankruptcy, you can show them bankruptcy ads and not like divorce ads or things like that. So you can really target that market with that campaign. And then you can start doing things from a retail perspective, like you can show ads that show limited quantities, like there's only 4 items left, or time limitations, like there's only 2 days left in this sale, or price changes, like the price goes up tomorrow, so buy now while it's 20% off, kind of a thing. So things like that. So you can kind of section off your website and target people specifically to what they were interested in on your website.
That sounds super brilliant, right? It's talk about working smarter, not harder. And obviously, taking advantage of the fact that you already know these people have shown interest, staying in front of them, it's just so important. What do they say? You have to be in front of somebody between 5 and like 17 times or something like that before they actually take the action that you're hoping that they'll take. It's amazing how this retargeting ad pretty much can do it for us seamlessly. So do you need to optimize or change your retargeting ads once you set them up?
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're first starting out, when you set up your campaign, what you're going to want to do is make sure that you're getting the response that you want. And if it's not performing very well, you can change the messaging, you can change the ad, things like that. And then once it starts performing well, then you just want to kind of support that and make sure that you're getting in front of all those people who left your website and didn't take the action. Because one cool thing about retargeting is after they've purchased, you can make it so they don't see the retargeting ads anymore because now they're customers. So at that point, you're sending them emails, you're following up, things like that. And then as you go through and people see these ads, you can kind of keep them fresh over time. And, from time to time, it doesn't have to be like every day or every week, but from time to time, you want to refresh those ads so they start seeing your brand and different ads and different exposures and things like that.
Yeah, so you definitely need to be paying attention to the data. The data will tell you so many things that'll help you when it comes to adjusting your advertising, your retargeting ads. And that's like a whole nother conversation about like data analysis and helping you to identify what you should be tweaking and whatnot. But let's just stay on topic. The neat thing about this retargeting is that you really do have a lot of control, so that maybe you have a customer. Now you have that customer, you can set your retargeting so that maybe a month later, right, you can reach out, or automation can reach out to that customer and let them know about something else that's coming up, because your analysis, your data is saying that they are a customer, so it'll push it out to them. Because customers are actually some of the best new customers, that they can become repeat customers. So right, am I right about that?
That's right. In fact, one example of that is when we were working with a large steakhouse. We were targeting, thousands of different stores. And what we would do is we knew that when we were targeting the competition, we knew that they had just had steak at one of their competition places. And so we wouldn't start retargeting them for at least another week, because we know that, they bounce around different restaurants. We don't go to the same restaurant every single time. And so we would delay that retargeting because it made sense in that case. There's also instances where, like, for instance, you're on a used car, I'm not a used car, but a car lot, where you're looking at cars. You want to start retargeting them immediately because they tend to make decisions very quickly because they need a car. So there's, we can kind of adjust those depending on what type of business it is and how fast we want to get in front of them.
So what other kind of controls can you have for retargeting ads? Like you mentioned timeframes and whatnot, but what about how many times a certain ad is shown to a person?
Basically, the industry standard for showing the number of ads, like how many ads that a person would see, like when they bounce around the internet, when they go to news sites or they go to WebMD or whatever, they're just going to everywhere. The industry average is 12 times per day. And we actually do about half that because we think that that's a little bit too much. But even 6 times a day may seem like you're bombarding somebody with ads for products that, they're interested in. But really, it plays into what the industry has found is that there's an effect. It's called a mere exposure effect. Have you ever heard of that before?
An MERE? I may have heard of it. I think I understand the concept, but please go ahead and explain.
Yeah. So basically, the mere exposure effect is basically humans, just we as humans, the more we see something, the more we tend to like it. And in our brains, we think, oh, they're just going to get tired of seeing this thing. But there's going to be an ad there anyway. It might as well be your ad. But what they've found is that the more we see things, things that we identify with, we've seen previously, we've seen the brand, things like that. What it does is it deepens the consumer's appreciation for that specific product. It basically reinforces brand salience. So the more times that you see a retargeting ad, the more times that you're familiarized with the logos, the colors, your branding, all that kind of thing, and they like you more the more that they see. It's just a human condition that we've been able to kind of learn.
I'll add to that a little bit because we were just having this conversation yesterday on Clubhouse, because Tech with Heart has Clubhouse rooms every Tuesday and Thursday. And the topic of the conversation yesterday was how to build your credibility online. And one of the strategic ways to do that is to show up more often in front of people. And so what you're saying is absolutely brilliant and true, because you can, through retargeting, actually set it and stay in front of somebody while you're actually doing something else. So it's really a super smart way to work. And for those of you who are listening, as a small business owner, if you implement this simple strategic strategy, the marketing strategy into your business, not only is it affordable and very effective, but you're going to elevate your influence in the eyes of those who are seeing that content, because you just appear to be far more professional and operating at another level in which it's going to be attractive and they're going to want to reach out to you. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, retargeting is for people who have previously visited your website. They've expressed interest in it, but they just haven't taken it to the next step. So they already are interested. They already kind of like you. And so these are people who have expressed interest in your brand already. So you're not imposing on them like you might think, like, oh, being in front of them, they're gonna think I'm following them everywhere or whatever, and it's just not the case.
No, not at all. In fact, if you do it correctly, like we do, Tech with Heart's all about the heart-centered approach to how we use technology. You can actually retarget your audience through sharing stories or sharing other quotes or inspirational posts or sharing wins or testimonials. It doesn't have to feel salesy or always ads. It could feel very much like you're just sharing your influence with them, because again, it's about the amount of touch points. People seeing your content on a regular basis, they begin to know, like, and trust you more, which makes it easier for them to open their wallet. So yeah, definitely doesn't have to feel, even though you're paying for these posts essentially to be positioned in front of them, does not have to feel very advertising at all, right?
That is correct. And another thing too is that, we use the email a lot for reaching out to our customers and things like that. And you can kind of think about this as almost like an email, but not being an email, because what like you said, you don't have to necessarily have a marketing message. You can have a message that says, hey, see our latest article, or read about, whatever things in your industry that you want them to read about. Now, in that article, you definitely want the marketing to be embedded in that article, for sure. But there's lots of different things that you can do to keep that interest alive for those people who have been, interested in your brand.
So can you go back a little bit and talk a little about those website visitors? Like you said that you could retarget people who visit your website, but you also mentioned something about being able to attract those that have visited your competitors' place of business. Like you mentioned the steakhouse. So when it comes to what is something that we can set, or for automations that exist out there, can you speak to us a little bit more about helping us understand how we can utilize that website visitors information?
See, what we can do is we can explain a little bit about targeting, because there's two different ways that you can set up a retargeting group. Now, the first one is how we just talked about, where you can put just like a little snippet of code on your website. Your webmaster can do that. It's not complicated at all. And it just tracks everybody who comes to the website and things like that. And then there's another way that you can target too, which I don't think almost anybody has heard about before. So it's something that we developed along with 4 other digital partners, because each of us had a specific technology that we could add to the mix to make this happen. And it's something that we call Geo Conquesting. And it's like having a tractor beam and being able to target your ideal clients and pulling them into your business. And the way that we do that is we build retargeting lists by people who physically go into a location. So how that works is that we track, but basically we'll put like a geofence around, like, for instance, let's just use a casino as an example. So there's a casino and people go to the casino and they play their games, whatever they do. And then we can tell when people walk into that casino and then when they leave. So when they're there, we tag them from their phones. So basically everybody carries their cell phones with them, right? And so what we've done is we've developed the technology to track the cell phones as they walk into the location. And we pull something that's called an advertising ID off of the phone. And we use that advertising ID to build a retargeting list. And so later on, when they've left, you can say, hey, we've got this other game going on, or an event that's going on. Maybe it's a concert, or it's something that's going on at the, they know that these people have been to their place before, their casino, and they're just asking them to come back again. Now, extending this out, now this is going to blow your mind. What if you were to do the same geofence over your competitors' casinos and be able to tell them that you have an event that's going on, and you know a couple of things about them? 1, they gamble. 2, they like to go to casinos. 3, they're nearby because they just went to your competitor. And 4, they're probably going to be interested in the things that you have going on. And it's not a hard sale to say, hey, you've been going over here, but why don't you come try us out for this one thing, right? Incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. So think about having like a surveillance system in your competitors' stores, watching people come in, and you're like, okay, we're gonna send marketing to them, and we're gonna send marketing to her and to him and to her and to him, things like that. And It's really a game changer for restaurants, for casinos, actually for almost any business that has a brick and mortar, where you can say, hey, these are my competitors. I want to market to those people that walk into my competitor stores.
So is your geo conquesting technology, retargeting technology, different from what you were saying earlier about a website retargeting? Because I just need a little bit of clarification. It all sounds really amazing, but I just need to understand, are you talking about two different types of retargeting here?
So it's the same retargeting. It's just how we build the retargeting list. So
Okay.
there's two different ways. There's one way that you target people who go to a website. And then the second way is you target people who go to a location, like your competitors. But at the end of the day, it all goes into a retargeting list and you show them ads.
Now, back to the pixels that you were talking about earlier that we can have our web developer put onto our website so that we can track people who land on our website, so that we can have automated retargeting ads going out to them. How can we do something similar to that for our competitors' websites so that we can kind of take advantage of the traffic that they're getting? Like somehow, can we do that through the internet, or is that possible?
And that's what makes the physical location so interesting, because online you would have to have access to their website, like to the code of their website, to put your pixel in there. Nobody's going to give that to you. You know what I mean? Because they want to keep their own, they don't want to give their clients away. They pay a lot of money to have them get to the website, just like you guys do, right? Or just like all businesses do. But they can't stop you from targeting their competitors that physically walk into their stores, their offices, the different locations that they go to, the restaurants, things like that. They can't stop you from that.
Awesome. Competitive advantage right there. There you go. Right on. So hopefully, yeah, small businesses that are listening to this recording will take advantage of this really brilliant and effective and efficient way of getting your ads in front of those who you already know are interested. This is great stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about, how much of a company's ad spend do you recommend that they use on the retargeting campaigns?
When a company launches a new advertising campaign, they first focus on prospecting. So they need to bring people to the website initially. So most of your money is going to be spent at the very beginning stages to bring new traffic to the website. But once that happens, and that's usually maybe a week or 2 weeks, something like that, as soon as that happens and there's some momentum of people that are coming to the website, now that whole time you're collecting those people who come to the website for that first week or two. After that, about 20 to 30% of your total ad spend should be dedicated to bringing those people. Remember that 92% that leave, to bring them back, because just in dollars and cents, say for instance, you go to AdWords and you pay somewhere between $3 and $10 for a click to bring them to the website in the first place. That's an expensive click. What you want to do is you want to get clicks to come back to the website for a fraction of that. So basically, to show somebody an ad, it's so inexpensive. It's like 7/100ths of a cent to show an ad to somebody. It's like ridiculously cheap. To get a click to come back, it may be like 12 cents or 15 cents for, in most cases, something like that. So once you've invested that $3 to $10 to bring them back again, I mean, these are people who have visited the website, expressed interest, stayed on your website for a while, and kind of like engaged at some level. Bringing them back again, it's the exact right person you want to bring back because they're interested again, and then spending that extra 12, 15 cents is so worth it to capitalize on that $3 to $10 that you initially spent to bring them in the first place.
Yeah, this has been very eye-opening. And just to kind of recap, so we're talking about retargeting advertising, and there are systems in place on different platforms such as Facebook and Google and YouTube that we could be utilizing. Am I correct?
So those are the major players. There's probably 10 or 12 other major players that nobody's ever heard of before because they're kind of behind the scenes, but they're much bigger than Google, actually. Google's display advertising is only about 20% of the entire market. So while it's big, it's still only 1/5 of the entire market. So it adds a different aspect to it, because one thing that a lot of people don't know, they think like, well, you know, we're doing Google AdWords and we're spending $3 to $10 a click right now to bring our people in. We'll just do display advertising and retargeting on Google AdWords, which is great. But the problem is that you're paying 3 times as much on Google as you would outside of Google, because they have you captive. You're a captive audience when you're in their platform, and they can charge you whatever they want, right? But what a lot of people don't know is like we run on the Google AdWords network behind the scenes. So what we do is we go through their API and we still do everything that Google does. But now when Google sells us their ad space, it's about a half or a third as much as we would spend for the exact same thing on AdWords, because now they have to compete with the other 80% or 80% of the market that's out there at the prices that are at the market prices, not at the high inflated prices that you would find inside AdWords. I'd recommend is just going to the website to go to Traffic Oxygen. So it's trafficoxygen.com, and download, there's like right at the top of the page there's a brochure that talks about Geo Conquesting. I would recommend just download that brochure. All of our contact information is right there in the brochure. Of course, you can call the number that's at the top of the page and things like that. But basically, this brochure will talk in great detail about how to target your competitors, how to do retargeting, how it works, everything kind of like what we talked about today. And it's a beautiful, it's easy to read, things like that. So if you're interested, just go download that brochure and kind of start there.
Thanks for that, Chris. So to wrap that up, what is one quote or phrase that you would like to share with those that are listening, that so they can walk away from this interview remembering?
A good question. So what comes to mind is I was at a marketing conference one time, and there was a guy that was up there presenting. His name was Mario Brown, and just a brilliant guy, super nice, just a great marketer and just a great person. And he said something that I will never forget. He basically said, take massive imperfect action. And so he went on to explain that just getting something done is better than getting something done right. So get it out there, make it happen, and just take action and keep things moving forward with momentum rather than trying to make it perfect before you get it out there. And so I've always kind of taken that under, is in the back of my head as far as everything we're doing. And when I get frustrated that it's not exactly the way it probably should be, that it just is. And then we make it the way it should be over the next, day or two or hours or whatever it happens to be, but it gets out there to get started, kind of a thing. So anyway, take massive imperfect action.
But take action, right? Yeah, this has been so enlightening and so powerful. And I just want to thank you so much, Chris, for coming here and sharing your wisdom with all of us. And I just want, for those of you who are listening, to know that techwithheartnetwork.com is where you can go and you can join our heart-centered, forward-thinking entrepreneurial community. See, we're not meant to do business alone. We're meant to grow alongside one another and gain insights from experts. And if you are a business expert and you have something of value to share to our entrepreneurial audience, we need to hear from you. So reach out to us at techwithheartnetwork.com. We would love to interview you on our Tech with Heart show and give somebody that insight that's going to really move the needle and help them grow their business. Again, thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today on the show. Your insight about retargeting has been incredibly invaluable. And for those of you who are listening, here is to your success.